Next up is Lawrence Germano, who is the president of Local 330 in Suffolk County of the CSEA. Mr. Germano, whenever you're ready.
Honorable Judge Duran, members of the Pandemic Practices Working Group, good afternoon. As Judge Duran mentioned, my name is Lawrence Germano. I'm president of the CSEA Local 330. The Civil Service Employees Association represents approximately 5,800 non-judicial court employees in every judicial district in New York State. The titles CSEA represents include court officers, court assistants, court reporters, senior court reporters, court clerks, attorney titles, judges secretaries and law clerks, information technology titles, law librarians, statisticians, and all titles in the specialty courts, mental hygiene legal services, and the grievance committees, except those designated as management confidential. We represent members in every title, whether competitive, non-competitive, confidential, or exempt from Long Island to the Canadian border. As a result, we believe we are in a unique position to comment on the three charges of this committee. One, examining the court system's response to COVID-19. Two, consider post-pandemic procedures. And three, determine which policies should be kept at the ready if court operations are again interrupted due to unforeseeable events. In February 2020, when New York State began to monitor the spread of COVID-19, CSEA, along with a coalition of court unions, contacted the Office of Court Administration to request the courts to shut down for 2 weeks to allow staff who were sick or exposed to COVID-19 to quarantine and to deep clean the court facilities. Union members and judges were beginning to fall ill. There were no UCS protocols in place to limit public contact or lessen person-to-person contact, and the unionized staff feared for their lives. The first staff memo from OCA regarding COVID-19 was distributed on February 28, 2020. The memo recommended hand washing and staying home if ill, but if you needed a paycheck from the unified court system, this was not an option. On March 3rd, 2020, CSEA wrote to OCA requesting that every court officer be directed to wear gloves. In addition, we requested that OCA provide bleach wipes for desks and magnetometers so they could be wiped down regularly, as well as hand sanitizer for all staff. We asked the courts, as a preventative measure, to set up flu shot clinics for employees. The gloves and wipes and hand sanitizer would arrive a week later, but the flu shot clinics never did. On March 13th, 2020, CSEA and other court unions sent a joint letter to Judge Marks reporting that the protocols that had been put in place were proving inadequate in the face of the pandemic. We asked that the courts limit or bar the public from entering the courts. It was clear the public could not be relied upon to police themselves by staying home if ill. The court officer reported this to the union. The unions also asked for the suspension of jury trials to decrease density in the court facilities. We never received a response from Judge Marks or OCA. On March 17, 2020, the governor shut down most executive branch agency in-person operations, as did the court system, for which CSA was grateful. A week or two after, the unions were notified by OCA that a virtual court electronic system will be put in place in mid-April. CSEA felt hopeful that communications between OCA and the court unions were improving, since OCA representatives seemed to generally listen to the union's concerns regarding the operation of the virtual courts. Following the notification that UCS was seeking to reopen court facilities, CSEA's Health and Safety and State Operations departments developed a list of engineering, administrative, and personal protective equipment solutions for staff and the courthouses. The list was agreed to by all court unions and submitted to OCA in March 2020. Those recommendations included plastic barriers at court counters between the public and staff, and in the courtrooms between judges, clerks, court reporters, attorneys, and defendants. Floor markings to designate 6-foot distances in all areas of the court, as well as decreasing the number of persons in court buildings overall. Increasing the percentage of fresh air delivered into HVAC systems. and upgrading and replacing air filters, temperature testing of staff and the public, masking, deep cleaning of core facilities, clear guidelines for reporting staff exposures to COVID-19, as well as exposures of members of the public who utilize core facilities. The need for creation of exposure control plans to contain spread of COVID-19 in core facilities, staff training and health and safety procedures, including but not limited to proper N95 mask use, revision of inmate transport procedures and handling of urine samples, increasing online forms and filings for the public, weekly meetings between unions and the OCA to keep apprised of changing pandemic conditions, a recommendation to open lines of communication or improving them between the judicial district administration and local leaders. And lastly, we asked that virtual courts be continued throughout the pandemic. In the months following the closure of the in-person court activities on March 17, 2020, CSEA leadership and the OCA staff increased communications and cooperated more than had been in the past practice. CSEA believes that this was crucial to the smooth transition to the virtual courts and lessened the number of court personnel who died. Many more staff would have perished, we have no doubt, if OCA had not been provided recommendations from CSEA's health and safety and state operations departments. As the virtual courts rolled out, it was evident that without the combination of the vision of UCS's Division of Technology, leadership, and the hard work of the IT staff, this dramatic change in the workplace would never have occurred. The overwhelming number of personnel in the IT staff are represented by CSEA. These CSEA members spent hours beyond a normal workday, in the evenings and during the weekends, working on the software and installing the hardware that created the virtual courts. The UCS Division of Technology has since experienced an exodus of IT staff who found state jobs in other branches of government that offer more flexibility. OCA's stubborn refusal to allow any unionized staff to voluntarily telecommute while using the same staff to telecommute on demand has damaged morale among the current staff, and it impacts hiring and retention of highly qualified candidates.
Mr. Germano, I apologize. We're past your time. I need you to wrap it up another sentence or two, please.
Judge, I appreciate it. I represent myself and my members as well as other judiciary presidents. It's a third of the workforce in OCA. So I appreciate just a little more time. Thank you.
Well, we don't have, unfortunately, sir, we don't. We will certainly take your written testimony, but we're applying the same rules to you that we have to everyone else. I don't mean to say your testimony is not important to us, but we made clear that everybody was limited to 5 minutes, sir. So please give us your last couple of sentences, and then we're more than happy to have your written submissions. And what I will commit to you is that we will have at least one and maybe more thorough listening sessions with members of our working group and your members.
Well, Judge, in conclusion, private and public workplaces are changing. The pandemic caused a great rethink on the part of the American workforce and resulted in many resignations and retirements at UCS. This has left our unified court system in a worse position post-COVID-19 than pre-COVID-19, and pre-COVID-19 OCA was already down by 1,000 or more positions due to the 2011 layoffs. And Judge, I'd just like to point out, I appreciate your comments, but this is the issue we have at OCA also. Where we try to communicate our position, we always get cut short, it seems like, and we don't get heard.
Well, we're hearing you, and we will further. We just have rules. It's 5:30 in the afternoon. We will hear from you more. I commit that to you, and I'm saying that while I'm being recorded.
Thank you, Judge.
So we will have a session, a virtual, at least one, with you and your members. The views of your members are critically important to us in this effort. So
I appreciate it.
thank you so
Judge.
much for being here.
Thank you to the committee as well.